Hello and welcome into the PHNX Rising post-game show. I'm Owen Evans. I'm joined by Mr. Anti-Lazio Action himself, Jake Anderson. A 2-2 draw on the night for Phoenix Rising against Oakland Roots. They trailed twice, ultimately managed to rescue a point. I know some of the people in our chat, some of the people on social media are going to kick off immediately and say, should have been better, should have done better. Obviously they didn't, but Jake, from your perspective, just overall first thoughts to kick us off.
It's one of those matches to where if you didn't watch the match and you just look at the result, you think, not bad. But if you were here tonight, watched on television, it has to be better from the team. You shoot yourself in the foot by giving away a second goal pretty much right after you equalized and took all momentum back when it was 1-1 in the second half. You could have scored early on. You're not going to score early on every time, but you hit the crossbar. You were creating chances. You were dangerous. And then against the run of play, you get countered and they score immediately on, which was their only shot on target at that point. It's just frustrating because it seems like it's kind of rinse and repeat of what we've seen all season, to where they can't keep a clean sheet and the attacking third is there, but it's not deadly. It was better tonight, but it's just, it has to be better. That's bottom line.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you see some of the comments here in the chat. Goalie man Pat, let's be honest, in this form, getting anything from the next four is doubtful. John McPherson with mediocre and nothing more. I'll say this. I think this was one of those games, and we've spoken about this, whereby you go into this, you think, from Phoenix Rising's perspective, you've got to win, really. They've had a couple of rough games. They've been struggling with scoring. This is the kind of game you look to go into, and you just think, yep, got to actually finally start turning that one around. Coming off of that game, I don't necessarily feel better in any way, shape, or form for the result that happened. However, there's an element, I think, still of relief. And it's relief in the fact that this could have been so much worse. That's not a good thing.
No.
But it could have been worse.
I guess that's the positive you could take out of it, is the fact that a team like
Wait,
Oakland,
I'm the one now spinning the positives, apparently, on here.
Look, that's what Rising's done to Owen this
This is
season.
what they've done to me this past 2 years, yeah.
But you look at Oakland, who has, what was it? They'd won 10 in a row when leading at halftime.
They have indeed.
Won.
They have indeed.
10
They
in a row.
won. That goes back to last June.
So that is a positive for Phoenix Rising. And yes, you're right. You get the equalizer in the 89th minute, and you realize, okay, you're not coming away from this match with nothing. But again, you're at home. Like when's the last time you won a home match? It's becoming an ongoing issue, and it's occurring again and again. And it's one of those to where it's becoming frustrating. When the goal happened and Rising went down, you saw the heads. You heard the collective from the crowd of just, here we go again. Just one of those nights. And it's going to happen sometimes, but when it happens every single night and it's happening on your own pitch, that's where the problem is. And as we spoke about on the podcast last week, these are the summer matches. These are the matches you have to win. There's no other team besides maybe Las Vegas who can prepare for this weather.
No one at all.
It wasn't really that hot tonight, but it's going to get much hotter. You have to pick up these points, because now you're getting to the point where you're going to be chasing a playoff spot instead of chasing a potential chance to host playoff matches.
Yeah, I will say now, there's a couple of chats here. BJ with Lambert was a warrior tonight. Yes, we did actually get a little bit of a non-update on Kev Lambert. Of course, he went down injured late. The word from Juan, we're not going to know for now. He went off. He's off seeing the doctors. That'll have to be judged at a later time. Lambert was immense this early. I know we were chatting down on the field that if what happened to Lambert turns out to be bad and it impacts perhaps his ability to play in the Gold Cup, that's just awful for
I'm going to be gutted for him if this.
Hopefully not. Hopefully it's nothing.
Yeah,
nothing to be concerned about.
Nothing is wrong. I'm almost more concerned for his Gold Cup chances than I am for Phoenix Rising. As fans may disagree with that, but having known Kev now since late 2017 when he first got here, we're over a decade. We know him as a person. We obviously see him play every week. He's been a staple of this club. He's the only player on this team who's still from the 2018 team, 2019 too, if I'm not mistaken. And if he, especially with the history he's had with Jamaica, with being left off or maybe not getting in, he's finally getting time with the national team. And this close to the Gold Cup, if an injury prevents him from going or playing, I would just feel for him. I'm just hoping, like you said, that it's nothing serious.
Hope beyond hope. But I tell you what, let's start actually though now. We gave our first reactions to this game. Let's have a look actually at the numbers now and break that down a little bit more. Rising with a pretty healthy XG there, actually. You know, we've spoken in the past about how they've kind of gotten those shots off. They're not necessarily good shots. Today that changed around a little bit, but they weren't getting him on target, and that probably is the biggest issue.
Yeah, they definitely played better. But again, we should have expected that. You're at home. You're playing a team that's fairly defensive, right? They were always going to have the majority of the ball. Not that they don't in most games, but it was kind of not quite as bad as Pittsburgh where they really sit in. But you knew you were going to have your chances. Should you have scored more? Probably. Was there a pen shout? Yes. But it's one of those you have to just keep going once the pen is not given. You cannot focus on it. But I think the lack of concentration on the second goal that they allowed, especially when you had just recaptured it, it's almost like everything you had just worked for up to that point is then lost.
Yeah, it is frustrating.
I think that right there is just the epitome of what I think every Rising fan and even some of the players feel right now. It's just that exhale of just like, come on.
Yeah.
Like we're
just waiting for it to click.
Exactly.
That's all
like
it is.
They're right there. And it's not like Oakland is a bad team. You know, Oakland is a decent club in the Western Conference. It's not like you were losing to Vegas, where that's when I understood why Juan was so pissed after the game. But again, I feel the same with you. It's just you're right there. You're on the doorstep, but you're not breaking through.
And that's been, I think, a problem for quite a while now. And with BJ's right, their two blunders led to 2 goals tonight. I mean, you were probably in a better position to see the first goal than I was for Oakland. What were your thoughts on that one?
It was, in my opinion, exactly what you should have done if you were Oakland. I mean, you break the lines quickly, a nice little flick on gets you in behind, and now it's just, you basically, 2v1, and it was a nice finish in the corner. I mean, side netting. They took their chances. I mean, you saw what happened in the Champions League final today. Inter Milan doesn't take their chances, they lose the match. Phoenix Rising, you could argue the same thing, and Oakland did take their chances. They gave them opportunities. Don't get me wrong, Rising didn't help themselves in that aspect, but you can't blame a team for taking their chances when Rising didn't.
No, you can't at all. I think when you look at it, though, it's just sloppy, and it's those sloppy mistakes that I know Juan talked about that in the post-game presser about it's kind of, you can't afford. You score 2 goals at home, you've got to come away with a win. You can't afford to concede 2 goals like that. I mean, the second goal, I have to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the thinking is behind what they're trying to do there. I see Panos, he's, to me, he gets that ball, you've got a counter-attack there, or worst case, if you don't see space, you don't think you can do anything, you got to play it a bit safer, because right there, what he does instead, he does exactly the kind of thing that you don't really want to do, and that's play it square. When you have a lot of players from the opposition there that are ready to, as soon as you try and play that ball across, kind of counter press it a little bit, get up there. Now, I think it's a mixture of 2 things. I think the execution could have been better. I also think the idea could have been better. It was just a bad idea, though, to try and knock that ball across there. And we see them give that ball away. And when you give a ball away in that kind of position, you are just handing it to the opposition, like, here, take a shot on goal, make us work. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know in that moment. I think, look, I don't necessarily have that many criticisms overall for the game. Looking at Panos, I think a couple of moments where he was taking people on, and it was good to see that. But that one moment there was incredibly costly and, quite frankly, just disappointing to see, I think, especially after Rising had battled their way back into this game.
No, exactly. They had just equalized. The momentum had started to go in their favor. You had the sense that they were going to get the winner in, 30 minutes left to play?
Yeah.
And you give it right back. I think that's the risk you play with playing a possession-based style, right? You're going to have the majority of the ball, but if you give yourself more likely a chance to make that bad pass, and if you do, you are going to pay for it. And that's what we saw. Now, granted, you expect that mistake to maybe happen in the opposition's third, or maybe the opposition's half, worst case. But the fact that you made that mistake in your own final third, you're almost always going to be penalized for it. I mean, to equate it to the Champions League final today, we saw Man City made a mistake in their final third, and Inter did not capitalize.
No.
Whereas Oakland did tonight.
Yeah.
And again, football is such a simple sport sometimes, man. If you take your chances, you don't need very many chances. But Oakland took their chances tonight, and Rising didn't. I mean, Rising created a lot, actually. You said, this wasn't a bad performance offensively from Phoenix.
Well, it wasn't bad in terms of chance creation, perhaps.
Correct.
Although I thought the first half was lacking. It was very much, I think, a classic story of Phoenix Rising. We've seen that time and time again this year. They don't seem to be able to play the full 90 in a lot of ways. They had a couple of opportunities in the first half, but it wasn't consistent chance creation. I think in the second half, when they were chasing the game, we've seen that many times. When they're chasing the game, suddenly they get that bit more impetus. Suddenly they can start playing balls that are actually asking a few more questions of the opposition. But when you look at it, the first half wasn't great. The second half, they created more chances. The problem is that overall, again, it's 16 shots. It's 4 on target. If you're only getting 4 shots on target, you're not going to score the number of goals you need if you're going to concede 2 goals.
And I asked Juan after the match his thinking in starting Danny Trejo over Manuel Arteaga, and he responded with basically Danny can move and shift the lines by running in behind, by running side to side. He then can face up because Oakland does not usually chase when you come back to the ball. And Danny could take guys on 1v1, which if that is the case, then yes, I agree with the play. But overall, Rising is one-dimensional in the way they attack. There is zero aerial threat in the box. Zero. None. Like there is no target man. He doesn't really play with his back to goal, so you can't really have any link-up play there. I think there should be a formational tweak because I think Danny Trejo is a phenomenal player, but I think he's being wasted in the middle of the park. I think he needs to be out wide so he can take guys on. Because we saw later in the match, there was a sense of wide play. Because when you're losing and chasing the match, they're going to sit back. You're not going to be able to play in behind because how many opportunities are you going to get? They understand they have a lead to defend. Get him out wide. Get Arteaga in. He's a big guy in the box. Granted, he didn't win a header to score the equalizer, but he takes bigger guys in the box. It takes the big center backs to mark him. Again, Juan Guerra is the manager. He's going to make the decisions he makes. But for me, it's a little bit of a puzzling one when you have Danny Trejo, who, in my opinion, is much better utilized maybe as a winger. But this 3, it was a 3-4-2-1 today, if you want to call it that. I think if they could maybe do a 3-4-3, a 4-3-3, in which you would have that 6 midfielder. This is in the 4-3-3, holds back to be that third center back, and you can still have the wing backs or left and right back go up in attack. You can change your formation based on defense and attack. But obviously, Danny Trejo is not going to be a guy that is going to be a target man. He's going to be a very different type of striker. So Juan has his preference, and he went with Danny tonight.
He did. Well, after a performance like that, there are positives, there are negatives, but if there's one thing you want to do when you go off now, go and grab a beer. Go and grab a Four Peaks beer at that. Four Peaks, actually, they're doing some good work, as they always do every summer for teachers. Four Peaks for teachers. Did you know, actually, if you head out to their 8th Street pub and you are a teacher, you got a valid teacher ID, you can get $4 pint of Kilt Lifter, Wow, Hazy, and Hop Knot through July, as that moth just landed on my hand. I felt something weird there, but yeah. Check out the 8th Street pub. Of course, we've had a great time there before. We went there back during the World Cup, the Men's World Cup back in November. Had some great nights there, and you can have some great nights this summer there as well. I might have to go and get myself a wow after this game as well, to be perfectly honest. It takes it out on you, the stress of watching Phoenix Rising not win. So I might have to go and grab a wow after this one. Make sure to check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest Arizona's hometown brewery. And remember, you must be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. And you need a spot to go and grab some of those Four Peaks. You can do so. Drop into your local Circle K. On the way back, I'm sure you can pick up some good, nice 12 packs of beer there. some varieties of beer they've got for just $9.99 there. You may need a number of those 12 after watching Phoenix Rising struggle again to find a win. But remember to go check them out. And of course, they are a partner of Phoenix Rising. They were out here. I'm not sure if they're out here again today, but they were out here a couple of weeks ago handing out those 10-cent gas cards. So you get 10 cents off a gallon whenever you go there. And those gas prices, knock on wood, they're still going down, trending down, at least at the moment. So make sure to go out. You can fill up on gas. You can also, while you're there, grab yourself a Polar Pop. Make sure to text PHNX to 31310 to join their SMS subscriber club, and you get a buy one, get one free 32-ounce Polar Pop. You can head to circlek.com/store-locator, circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. Right. So, Jake, we have spoken about our thoughts on the match. Now seems like a good time to toss it over instead to Juan Guerra and hear what he had to say on his overall thoughts on the game.
I don't know. Right now, I need more time to digest what just happened. I think tonight was hard because we had to come back twice from behind. It was exactly the scenario that we wanted to avoid when they go a goal up, because then they become very compacted. They sit deep in that line of a 5 and a forward, and then they really countered with a lot of speed. So as soon as I actually think we started the game well. We had some momentum going. We hit the crossbar. We probably should have scored another one. Then they have that chance and they scored. So they gain momentum. We lose ours. Then we start picking up our momentum as well, but it becomes dangerous because they're sitting deep. They're just waiting for you and they counter quickly. We try to find spaces where it's very, very hard to find those spaces when they're sitting that deep. When we found those spaces, we created chances going forward. And listen, I think we should have probably had at least one goal in the first half. It didn't happen. Second half starts, and the guys find that momentum again. They find that energy. The crowd gets behind the team too. We find the equalizer. Now we have momentum. We're going forward, and sadly, it's an unnecessary turnover in our half. Gives them a second goal. We lose momentum for a few minutes because it's normal, and then we make some substitutions. We find that momentum back. We find the equalizer again. And it was hard, man. It was very hard because we had to come back from behind twice. We have to keep pushing forward. We have to keep improving. I'll take the positives from tonight and make sure that we can build on that for Louisville next week. And we have to try to, teams can't come over here and score 2 goals. That's a thing, either a mistake or not, but we should try to make sure that we minimize that. Teams shouldn't be on the road and come to Phoenix and score 2 goals.
Well, you know what? While that was playing, actually, Jake, you did just say something to me there. You want to?
Yeah, as Juan said, you can't allow teams to come in here and score 2 goals on you. But Rising's defense has, 2 clean sheets in all comps?
One of which was against the League One team.
Yeah.
League One team.
And one in league play. And
yeah.
Which, coincidentally or ironically, is on the road. It's not even at home.
Against one of the worst teams in the league.
So you have yet to have a clean sheet at home in league play. That's pathetic. It's June.
Yeah.
Like it's just poor. Like if it's self-inflicted or the other team's doing magic and scoring, like you don't have one clean sheet.
Well, how are you supposed to, right? We've seen this team. We've critiqued them for the fact that they struggle with scoring. We've done that repeatedly about, it's. But they are, to be fair, being put in an awkward position whereby this team always, it feels it's constant, has that error in them.
I think
it's not necessarily that overall defensively they're bad, but they've always got that error in them. They've always got something that means they're going to concede a goal. You always know, almost going into any game that this team is playing, that if you want to win, you're going to have to score 2 goals.
And they haven't been scoring. Their goal difference is -1 over the course of the season. They have 16 goals for, 17 allowed. Yeah. 17 goals. They've only played 13 matches?
Well, the other thing to note on that one is I don't believe this was a stat from Opta came up at halftime that no other team in USL has failed to score in the first half as frequently as Phoenix Rising have.
I think that just encompasses exactly what they've been all season.
Yeah.
They start slow and they finally pick it up because they have to in the second half.
Yeah.
Because they're usually losing. Yeah. And it's a different style of play. The 0-0 or the draw style that their team they're playing, right? Goals change games, the old saying. Teams are going to be able to sit back more.
The old saying.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, the other team scores. They take the lead. They're beating Rising. They're not going to be as aggressive. There's now less space. Any chance you have of in behind is pretty much gone unless they're actually attacking. But they're not going to be attacking with as much firepower, which leaves less space. When you have build-up play like Rising does, and they like to play a little slower, they're going to be compact. They're going to be tight. They're going to be defensive. It makes it more difficult to win these games because you're losing. If I think it would be an entirely different conversation if we were going in doing, okay, they're drawing 0-0 or they're conceding from having the lead, but it's the complete opposite. Now you can take the positive approach, which is, well, they fight back, don't they? Yes, they do. But why do they have to continuously be in that position? I think it's unnecessary. Yeah. If you can figure that out, I mean, again, I'm not saying bring Rick Shantz back, but remember Rick always talked about if
Jake is going down the random Twitter warrior kind of route here.
But Rick always told us, let's do the clean sheet first and then worry about scoring. That I do agree with. Now, we had talked to where I don't want to stay unbeaten, quote unquote, and you go 3 matches and it's 3 0-0 games, and it's the equivalent of going 1 win, 2 losses. That's identical.
Yeah.
You do need to play the risky ball, but you got to start playing defense. You can't give other teams goals. You're making it harder on yourself, and that's what we've seen from 2023 Phoenix Rising.
Yeah. They just shoot themselves in the foot, ultimately. You're getting ripped on, by the way. Sayali here saying, Jake quoting Rick Shantz. Sven-Goran Eriksson. Hi there, Sven. Joining the illustrious groups such as Jesse Marsh, multiple others that we've had in the chat, apparently. We've got Sven-Goran Eriksson this time. Rick was sacked for a reason. I mean, it's true. Yep. That's true. Look, I think it's... Here comes a sigh as well.
Rick's team stopped playing defense.
Yeah, they did. They just gave up on that. I just feel as though I think in this game overall, Rising kind of huffed and puffed a lot, especially in the first half. But that's, again, what we've gotten used to seeing at this point. It's kind of a lot of huff and puff and not really getting anywhere with it. Hey, it's a long season. And at June, I think we're all ready for it to finally kick in.
I think if this result happens on the road in the exact same manner it happened, you'll take it. You might have signed up for it before the match.
No, I get that. And look, when you're playing Oakland again in 2 weeks now, I think if Rising had won here and then drawn like this in Oakland, yeah,
4 points out of 6, you would take it.
Yeah, you would, against a team that's realistically a playoff team. 4 out of 6 is a decent haul. You got to win your home games. I mean, it's just, look, I mean, Edward in the chat here. Has Juan done anything to prove any of this is working? There've been flashes.
That's a good question, man.
But I mean, it's the consistency, all right? And it's, look, Juan said it today in the press conference. He said, look, I believe in what we're building here. I believe in what we're doing. And I get what you're saying there, which is that I think there is still a lot that this team needs to prove.
I think what it is, honestly,
a lot this team needs to prove.
I understand both sides of it. From Juan's perspective, he can see and is focusing really on the positive of how this team can build and how it can approach and how it can score. But I think the problem is they consistently are making it easier for opponents to score. And because that is your issue, more so than the other team's beating you, you're beating yourself. You view it more as, well, we're not bad. We're not the inferior team. We're just making stupid mistakes that are costing us. But the fact that it's happening constantly at this point, and that is the consistency, not good performances for 90 minutes, but there's a consistency in mistakes that you're getting punished for. That's where I think there has to be some deep digging, some conversations, and potentially maybe some changes in personnel in terms of who's actually playing, because you can see all the good that they do. And I don't want to take out any good players that can bring that firepower and bring that dynamism to it. But if there are consistent mistakes being made, you're never going to overcome this. You're always saying, hey, let's play a goal down. That's not a recipe for success.
No. And again, I think it's something that, and you are right to highlight the lack of clean sheets over the course of the season. I think it's something that in isolation overall, you look at and just say, in an individual game, it happens. Everyone has that game where they make bad mistakes defensively. Everyone has that game where things just don't bounce the right way. They make one or two bad decisions and have to pay for it. The problem is, as you brought up, with the complete lack of clean sheets that we're ultimately seeing out of this team, is that this is becoming a regular occurrence. It's not something that you can just write off as a bad game. And so when you're baking that into the expectations coming into these matches, yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. I think there is Edward here pointing out that it's June. Yeah, I mean, this is the time where realistically things have to start coming together. There's not much more time. Now, look, this league, it's 8 out of 12 getting into the playoffs, right? But to me, that also means that there is huge pressure that you must make the playoffs this year. I think that a failure to make the playoffs come the end of the season would be a massive failure for Juan and for the system he's trying to implement at the moment.
It would be failure, point blank simple. Like, this team is expected to make the playoffs. I would argue this team was expected to at least finish closer to the top 4 than to the 8th spot, which is what they're currently in. And I haven't seen the results around the league, so how that has implicated on the standings. But going back to the clean sheets, it's one thing if this team was scoring 2-3 goals a game. They're not. Every single goal that they allow basically means that the 3 points are gone, and it's now you're chasing 1. Like, yep. They allow 2. There's almost 0% chance that they win the match. So your margin for error is already small to begin with because of your lack of consistency in the final third attacking. And then when you give the opposition these free goals, essentially, you're just making it so difficult on yourself, and it's unnecessary.
It is.
And we're looking at the results around the league now.
We'll pull the standings. We'll talk about those in a little bit, but yes.
But you have what, 3 full months still to play, 4 months still to play. You have a lot of time, but teams are starting to get into their flow. You're starting to understand who's good and who's not. You've already lost to some pretty bad teams, so you're not going to get as many of those opportunities again.
Nope.
So you're going to have to play the harder teams. This is a gauntlet June in terms of who they're playing.
100%, yeah.
It's too early to say time's running out, but I would say the
we need to see
the leash you're giving.
Week.
The leash is getting shorter.
It is.
The leeway time is definitely running out. You got to start seeing results now, especially at home.
A fan I won't name did say to me at halftime that if Rising lost today, this could be the turning point for him. With the direction the club's going.
I've been asked how I feel a lot as well about how much time do you give until you start to talk about it, until you start to consider it, until you start to have the conversations and perhaps look elsewhere. I think it's a little early for that. I think if Rising is still where they are, bottom of the playoff spot or even out of a playoff spot, by the time we get to August, then it's definitely time.
Yeah, I think August is a time when things need a more serious bit of consideration. This team has to start turning things around. I've said, look, I understand there are some tough games coming up. Admittedly, Louisville in a weird form at the moment, so
I can't figure that team out.
No one can figure them out. But I think
no
it's
Josh
Widener.
Have to.
That's very true.
There's a plus for Rising.
That's very true. But I think it's something whereby you have to start seeing the improvements. You have to start seeing things clicking ready for when the opportunity arrives. Now, there's also going to be, I think, a game that's going to have to be taken very seriously by Juan in terms of that midweek clash away to New Mexico. It's a game that the fans always are up for, very up for, against that opposition in particular. And it's a game this team has already lost to once this season. In fact, Rising now, it's over a year. They've played them twice now in that last... No, they played them only once, actually, because it's more than a year since the farce of a game in New Mexico. But you just can't really not be up for that game and not put in a good showing in that game, because those are the kind of games that turn people. We saw with the Open Cup, people actually really, really were angry after that match. Like the vitriol in the chat, right? Today, I see some negativity. I see a lot of frustration, but it's measured. Okay, good job, chat. We like it. That New Mexico game was very, very, very angry after that game and very angry at what they'd seen. And actually, we saw some people getting on Arteaga's back after that game. He ended up coming out in the next game or coming out relatively soon after, at least, and proved some people wrong with getting involved with a goal and assist in the following games there. And that was good. That was good to see that bounce back. But I do think that a poor performance in New Mexico will create a very negative kind of atmosphere around this team.
I think the fans will always feel that way, especially with New Mexico. It's not the first time that New Mexico's knocked them out.
It comes in the whole package of everything, the struggles more broadly, and then it's like, look, I know this. People, you guys know, right? I'm from Cardiff. I'm a Cardiff fan. When Cardiff is struggling at the bottom of the table in the championship, which we were this last season, you look at certain things and you say, well, they better show up for that game. And that for Cardiff is Swansea, right? And if you don't see them show up for that game, then that combined with everything else going wrong is going to create just a very unpleasant atmosphere to be in. And the exact same is true, I think, for PHNX Rising. Yeah, you've got to show up for that game.
Because you understand that even with everything that's not going right, if you do beat New Mexico, it's like, okay, we beat one of our rivals, a team that has beat us in the Open Cup now twice, a team that has players going back and forth, and you have something you can hang your hat on, even when things aren't going right. It's, well, okay, we at least won this match. You got some joy from that match. You beat your rival. You can hang on to that. But, man, it's like when you lose to your little brother, it hurts a little bit more, especially when things aren't going right. It makes it that much worse. So it's I mean, every match is important, especially when it comes to a league table, but and knockouts, obviously. But there are certain matches that obviously mean more to certain people, to certain fans, to certain players, obviously, especially if you've played for both clubs. I mean, we'll see what happens, because that place is not an easy place to play.
No,
not nothing against New Mexico, but there's not much in Albuquerque, and they do love their club. Whether they'll be there long term, we don't know. But
trust me, Jake, I know there's not much in Albuquerque.
I mean, it's not an easy place to play. I know it's a baseball park, but still, Rising has good memories there as well. You know, shout out Joey Calistri for when they clinched. Yeah. But that's years ago, man. I mean, over the last 3 years, this is New Mexico's rivalry.
Yeah,
they've owned it, and those are just facts. That's just how it is, and it's unfortunate. So I understand the frustration and people being upset about it, because it's not easy when you lose to a team that you once dominated.
Yeah. Right. Well, people will get riled up for that one, I'm sure. Well, if they need to calm back down again, I'm sure they can try some of our friends at OGs. Will have some products for them. Now, Jake, I'm sure we're going to have to hook you up with some OGs at some point.
Yeah,
we are going to have
strawberry. What was it? The strawberry
pink lemonade.
Pink lemonade.
It's dropping soon. That's coming on June 21st. We'll get you some. We'll get you some of the pink lemonade. I'm sure we'll be able to manage that. But for now, they've got some mixed bags out at the moment. They got the fruits with the watermelon, the red apple, the peach. They got the creams, the blackberries and cream, the orange creamsicle, and the peaches and cream. And if you need to kind of calm yourself down after a game that's probably gotten people quite frustrated tonight, you need to get yourself ready to drift off. They do, of course, have the sleep edition. We haven't spoken about that one for a while, but they do have the sleep edition, which will help flavor your dreams. It's aquaberry flavor. which Max normally gives a very, very good description on the aquaberry. But yeah, check out OG's online. We're talking about Max in the middle of an ad break. Oh, no.
Fun fact, aqua means water in Italian.
The more you know. Check out OG's online at ogsbrands.com and on Instagram at OG's Brands. That's OGEEZ Brands. You can find their products at your local dispensary. Remember, you must be 21 years or older to purchase. And, of course, speaking of our friends, we got our friends as well at Valley Tap Room over in Gilbert, which, to be honest, might have had a more fun night there. Knocking a few of them out than watching this game out here today. They got some good times there. 30 different beers on tap. Nice big wine selection as well. And they got more beers around the corner in the fridge in bottles and cans as well. And they got a limited food menu there. You can bring food from elsewhere as well to enjoy while you drink. We always have a good time when we go out there. We normally go out sometimes for the Trivia Tuesdays when we don't have a podcast on the Tuesday. Max, again, will always claim that he is the one who wins those. I'm not so sure that he does win those for us. But anyway, make sure to check out Valley Tap Room. Make sure to check out their happy hour when they have $1 off drafts and wine. And check out all the awesome things they've got going on Instagram at Valley Tap Room and visit them off the 202 and Gilbert. Right, Jake, let's talk about the rest of the USL, and then we can get out of here because I have had enough of standing around here in PHNX Rising Stadium today, and I need to go and maybe track down some Four Peaks. So, looking around the league, we'll start with just looking at the standings. PHNX Rising maintain their 8th place position. They are just inside the playoffs as it stands. New Mexico United are 3 points behind them in 9th, although New Mexico do have a game in hand. Looking a little bit further down the table as well, RGV, same games played as Rising. They're 5 points back. And Orange County are 4 points back on PHNX Rising. But OC have played 2 games more. If we want to look up the table, Colorado Springs are 2 points ahead of PHNX Rising. They've played 1 game more than Rising have. And then you're up to Monterey Bay, who are 3 points ahead. Again, played 1 more game than PHNX Rising. That's a result of some of these scores today, with Colorado Springs battering Orange County actually 4-0. That was a pretty decisive affair, let's put it that way. San Antonio held to a 2-2 draw at home against El Paso. Monterey Bay picking up a win 2-1 away to Vegas Lights. RGV in a thriller of a game. Their 3-3 draw at home against Miami FC. Lou City, who will be coming here next week, they're on a bit of uncertain form. We were speaking about that a little bit in that last bit. They lost 3-1 today at home to Memphis 901. New Mexico dropping 3-2 on the road at Al Lang Stadium to Tampa Bay Rowdies. And Rising's opponent last week, Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They win 2-0 over Charleston Battery, really emphasizing, I think, their credentials as a team that are going to be battling at the top of the East come the end of the season. One other game that we missed out, Indy 11 against Hartford Athletic, 1-1 in a free red card affair. 2 games yesterday as well. Loudon 3, Tulsa 1, and San Diego Loyal 1, Sacramento Republic 1. That one was interesting because, of course, Grant Stoneman was suspended for 1 game after their San Diego's prior clash with San Antonio. The independent disciplinary panel imposed a 1-game suspension. It was later overturned because of an IDP procedural error, which is comical to me. That is passing the lowest of bars. The lowest of bars. Meanwhile, we got let's have a look at the chat actually here. Edward Cunningham. Max has to buy us all illicit drugs now for not buying us beer. We do not approve of this, Edward. We do not want Max to get arrested in the airport coming back. Yes.
Yeah, that wouldn't be great.
Don't do illegal drugs. No.
It's Owen condoning legal drugs then.
We just did ad reads for beer and it's all good. It's all good. It's good stuff. Max is in South America somewhere. He can send us some extra. This is all you guys just asking for Max to send something back from South America. Meanwhile, Sven Goran Eriksson saying, how do you say sack in Italian?
Sack?
As in fire the coach, yeah.
Oh,
here we go, Jake. In Italiano.
I mean, obviously about 40, you're out. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. What else is there here?
Ed
Cunningham. He's asking for more translation work. We'll give that one a miss for now. So they can now cry in a Ferrari about their loss. Sven-Goran Eriksson is having to sleep soon and will watch the DNVR coverage of the Rapids to help. Ooh. Okay, Sven. Okay. How did they do today? That intrigues me. How did the Rapids do? We've got a little bit of a friendly rivalry on social media that's not so friendly. They had 2 players sent off and lost 2-0. Well, it could have been worse for Phoenix Rising tonight, eh? As Rising ultimately get a draw. You know what, Jake? Let's start looking at getting out of here as Super Chump comes in with Let's Sign Ronaldo. No. Jake, some final thoughts from you here now.
It's time to dig deep, Phoenix Rising. Like it's getting to the point to where if this type of results continue to happen, the season will be lost. I understand that you can always, this is American soccer, so we have a playoff system, and so you can get hot at the end of the year, but you're asking to then go on the road. You're asking to go to the best teams who have played all year and upset them. And again, it's theoretic. It could happen. The Miami Heat are in the finals, although they're down 3-1 to the best team from the other side, which I think proves my point.
Oakland have snuck in as a really low seed twice and won their first playoff round.
Correct. But it's almost identical to what they do every game. You're making it harder than it needs to be. Yes. You're making it harder on yourself. You don't need to do it. And you just need to start getting some confidence. I think if you start winning some matches, just get the results. The heads will stay higher up. The confidence in the ability of how to play stays there. You're willing to make riskier plays, riskier passes because you actually believe that you're going to make the play and make the pass, have the shot. If it's one of those to where if you can just get that first domino to fall, I think there will be a ripple effect that will spread throughout the entirety of the team. And also, if they can get healthy, I think if we can get a player like Trejo back into this lineup, I don't know where the hell he's going to fit at this point with how much they have just in the center of attack. Honestly, I wouldn't be too shocked if Juan changes the formation up a tad. Because
just a tad.
A tad. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to throw out everything you've worked on over the year. You're still going to play the same possession-based style. But I think it's time to start.
There are tweaks within the philosophy.
Exactly. And I think there's time to start experimenting with that because what you've done to this point isn't giving you consistent performances. And I think we're at 13 matches played, 14 in all comps. I think it's
15 in all comps.
15 in all comps. There we go. Exactly. Because they had the 2 in the Open Cup. At this point, I think 15 matches gives you a good enough sample size to understand what works, what's not working, what's consistent, what's not consistent. And I think you really need to figure out not having goals conceded at home and not having a goal conceded literally every match.
Yeah. Well, some good things to think about there, Jake. I will say, actually, I'm not sure if you noticed. I noticed I was standing up here in the press box looking down at the path going around there. I saw a guy wearing a Phoenix Rising shirt, and around his neck, he had the PHNX Rising scarf.
Wow.
You can get your own PHNX Rising scarf. A little bit late to get one in time for Father's Day, but it's the thought that counts. You can print off the receipt and show it's coming.
I'll get one for my dad.
There we go. Definitely, yeah. So hop on over to the PHNX locker. It's where you can find the PHNX Rising scarf. You can find our shirt. You can find stuff for all of our other teams that we cover as well. Lots of good stuff on there. So go check out the PHNX locker, phnxlocker.com. And we'll hopefully see you out here at a Rising game wearing some gear very soon. Right, well, Jake, I think it's time to start getting like Jackson Conway and getting out of here. Look, overall, hey, Rising, we're back on Tuesday at 6. We'll be, I'm sure, digging a little bit more in detail as to what happened here. I will say this. Tonight was Pride Night for Phoenix Rising. There was a lot of representation for that. Coming out of here tonight, on the field, are you proud? That's a question for you guys at home to decide. Good night.
Ciao.